Welcome back to the Outlaws podcast. This is Ryan. Today I'm joined by a very special guest, Drew Weddle.
That's right, I'm back!
Drew will be taking over the role of host today. He's going to interview me about my team, so I'm going to go ahead and let him take the reins over.
That's right, you thought you could get rid of me? I am back! Let's be honest, this is probably as relevant as I'll be the whole season.
Well, that's interesting. I don't know. A lot of people seem really high on your team this year.
They are. Everyone's kind of buying into the Drew hype. I don't know what that's all about. Drew is a sleeper, potentially?
Well, let's not talk about your team too much. This is my night.
Okay, fine. We'll reserve this one night for you. Let's talk about draft night.
All right, go ahead. What do you have to ask?
I mean, you and Ben covered it a little bit disappointing. I just curious, how tipsy were you on draft night?
You know, I don't really drink a whole lot, so when I do drink, occasionally it runs through me pretty fast. I was kind of tipsy a little bit at the beginning of the draft, and then it just wore off, I guess, because I didn't drink quite quickly enough. But I felt a little bit of buzz early on in the draft.
Are the timeouts here to stay?
Oh, I love the timeouts. I love the abruptness of the whistle. It just comes out of nowhere. Like, it's not like a 5-second delay. It's like you push the button, the whistle sounds immediately.
I just want to say, take that, Big Ben, okay? You said you couldn't come down to the draft because you're going to be late for the wedding. We were determined to make you late for the wedding anyways. So suck on that.
You're not making any friends here. You and Big Ben are already at odds. There's really no reason to do this.
I don't know. I mean, we did speak on the phone last week, so
yeah. So why don't we just go ahead and make fun of him on the podcast? Go back to not speaking with him for 6 months.
Just getting back to my normal ways. So obviously, timeouts were a highlight. Any other highlights for you on draft night?
Just the energy that Ben brought to the draft was, it's as good as anybody can ever bring. And well, I don't know. Do you want to get into it now?
We should probably say that. That's probably a whole nother podcast. That's like a 45-minute discussion. Let's just say that Ben is on the move as we speak. Ben, he is out there on a little adventure of his own right now, and maybe we'll get to that in a part 2. But let's focus on you for now. Sitting here looking at your team, what pick did you like best on draft night? I'll pull up the picks so you can see.
Yeah, on draft night, I guess my favorite pick was probably Encarnacion for 33. He was the one player on my team that I knew without a doubt I was going to, probably come away with. I thought there was probably like a 90% chance that I'd take Encarnacion. I was willing to go up to like $40 on him, so I was happy for the price that he went.
This was a very unlike a normal Ryan draft, because a normal Ryan draft, you see a ton of $1 players there at the end. You actually had 6 players, or I'm sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players that went for $10 or more. And then you got several $6, $5, $4, $3 players. Not something I'm used to seeing from you in the past.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I did not take a single dollar player, and I'm usually a team that is going to spend at least one $50 player and a couple of $40 players. So it really was a little bit of a change for me. I came into the draft wanting to take Mike Trout, obviously, but I knew it was going to be hard to get him. So once I didn't get Trout, and it kind of changed my entire strategy.
I wouldn't be true to myself if I didn't ask you these questions, but only 4 of the hitters in your lineup have an O rank of under 100. Does that bother you?
It actually does not bother me, Drew. I feel comfortable with my lineup at minus maybe 1 or 2 spots. I obviously came into the draft looking to get power. That's pretty evident if you look at my lineup. I got Crush Davis at first base, E5 at third base, Hanley at short, and then I got Ortiz at utility, Mechanic, catcher, and Soriano in the outfield, and Worth can give me some power too. So that's the strong part about my team. But I realize that I only have, 4 players in the top 100 O rank?
That's right. 3 of them were in the top 14, though, in O rank. And Encarnacion, Davis, Hanley, and then you got a mid-round pick in Ortiz. I thought Ortiz was pretty good value for $15.
Yeah, I mentioned Encarnacion as a guy that I was probably coming away with. I had a really big focus on getting Ortiz. I honestly thought he would go for more. I was willing to go up to closer to the mid-20s on him. I thought his average price is way too low. The last 3 years he's been on like a 30 home run, 100 RBI, 300 batting average pace. So I think he's been perpetually underranked in the last few years.
Was there a guy going into the draft that you're like, I'm just pretty sure I'm going to get him on my team, and he ended up going somewhere else?
It's a good question. One guy that I really wanted, and I didn't know for sure if I'd get him or not, but I really wanted Julio Teheran, who went on Carl's team for $11, which isn't a bad price. I think Teheran is going to be great this year. I think he could be a top 10 pitcher. I know you think that's crazy, but I like Teheran a lot.
Yeah, he's just the command. I'm not a big fan of his command. Who was the one player on your team where I was like, I never thought he'd end up on my team?
That's got to be Alfonso Soriano, without a doubt. He was the first outfielder I got at $6, and really the outfielder pool was just totally drained, and it was a little bit of a panic that I just had to get an outfielder that had some power. I don't feel great or horrible about that pick. I just don't know. The last 2 years, he's actually had 30 home runs and 100 RBIs in each of the last 2 seasons, so hopefully it works out.
How excited are you about owning Fernando Rodney?
I'm not super excited about it, but I think he's got good job security for now, and he's in a good division and a good ballpark, and I think he's probably close to that number 20 ranking for among closers. So I don't think he's horrible.
You seem pretty high on Jason Worth.
I am high on Jason Worth. He was dominant last year, and I just watching him play a lot. I think he always takes really quality at bats, kind of like you were doing tonight and when we were playing MLB 2K9. Just solid at bats. I mean, he does not give away an at bat. He really works the count. He's not going to expand his strike zone, and he hits with authority. He doesn't strike out a ton. I like Jason Worth. If he can stay healthy, I think that's going to be a great pick for $10.
Two of my sneaky good picks for you is I've always been a Kuroda fan. You got Kuroda for $3. I know that because I was kind of, spying on your computer earlier that you're not afraid to offer him in a couple trades. But I like Kuroda. He's steady as can be. And then good old Alex Wood for $2. I saw some good things from Alex Wood last year, and I streamed him quite a few times, and he hardly ever let me down. Your thoughts about those two players?
Honestly, Kuroda, he bores the crap out of me. He's just so boring. But I looked at his stats. I think he's had
Asians are trustworthy.
They
folks.
are, and I got 2 of them. He's one of them. He's had a whip between 115 and 120 each of the last 4 years. So he's very reliable. I don't like those NL East pitchers, so that's where I'm a little wary. But he's been in that division for a couple years now, so there's really not a whole lot you can complain about. But he's definitely available for trade. The second player, Alex Wood, as I did a lot of pitcher research coming into the draft more so than my hitter research. And Wood is a guy that averaged, about a strikeout an inning last year. He's got a decent walk rate. It's right around 3, which is, it's not going to kill you, and it's not like a lead or anything. But I think Alex Wood is going to be a good value for $2, and I like the division that he's in.
Definitely. And win potential being on the Braves, you got to feel like he's going to get some decent support at least.
Hopefully he beats up on the Mets and the Phillies and the Marlins.
Hope so. Yes. Not bad competition to have there. So tell me about where you think you are right now. Do you see yourself as? I know you're generally pretty high on yourself usually, but
yeah.
Where do you think you are right now?
I think I've got a top 4 or 5 team. It's so hard to look at the rosters before the season sometimes because right now I think it's as close as it's ever been with the competition in the league. I was looking at even Adam's team, who if we were to do a power rankings, just without really looking at a lot of the teams very closely, I think Adam might be that last team just because his pitching staff. He's only got 2 starters on his team, which I don't really get, but I think that kind of automatically has to put you down at 10. But other than him, I feel like any of those other 9 teams could be interchangeable almost.
Yeah. The way Adam's roster is currently constructed, he wouldn't meet the 35-inning weekly limit,
right?
Except on a couple occasions. What team are you most afraid of right now? Or do you think there seems to be a general consensus this year that this is probably the most tightly packed we've thought the league has been after the draft? Usually we can come up with a list of 10-1. It's not so bad. But this year we haven't done a power rankings yet just because I find it to be almost impossible to do.
Yeah, that's a good question. I really don't know. There's a couple teams that I like. I like Michael and Jordan's team. I think it's well-rounded. It's not real top-heavy. Obviously, Jordan pointed that out when they don't have any players in the top 40. But they also don't have a big weakness, and there's not a lot of teams that I can look at and say that they don't have much of a weakness somewhere. And your team could be like that too. I just don't know about some of these players coming off the bad years. We kind of have a different philosophy. I like to
Some of these players coming off the bad years, all of the players coming off the bad years.
All of them pretty much, offensively, except for maybe Ellsbury.
There you go. The only one.
I really, it's hard for me to pinpoint that right now.
Do you feel like you're snake bitten? We haven't even began the baseball season yet, and over the years, you probably think that you've had the worst injury luck of anybody, and you've already seen, you had an idea that Corbin was gonna be in a little bit of trouble, but you've also had some other injury trouble here before the season has started. How are you feeling? What's your mindset right now?
I'm feeling a little shaken right now, and obviously about 2 days ago I was getting pretty pissed. Last year was like the worst injury luck I've ever had in like the 10+ years I've been playing fantasy. Really, before that in baseball, I can't really recall having a bad injury history season. But I saw the news of Corbin, when I drafted him, so I knew that there was a threat that he might have a serious injury. I didn't think it'd be as bad as it was, but considering that he was only $3 and I think he's got pretty good upside, I went with it anyway. Didn't work out. But what really had me concerned is the Yu Darvish injury. I see he's got a stiff neck. He's saying, I slept on it wrong, and the next day I'm seeing he's going to see a neck surgeon.
Oh, bad.
So that's gave me a scare, and I really don't know what the final results are going to be, but right now it doesn't seem super serious. And then there was a scare with Encarnacion, a scare with Victorino, maybe his opening day availability, but he's going to be ready by all accounts. So there's been some scares, but all in all, it hadn't been anything significant yet.
Are you glad you're not the commissioner this year?
I don't really mind taking the role of commissioner because that way I can, lay the penalties on you when they need to happen.
Oh, wait, you are the commissioner right now.
No, I'm not. But
okay, thank God.
I don't mind taking the role of commissioner.
I'm kind of glad when
some people like Big Ben don't like to handle those type of situations. They don't like to penalize Drew. Oh, let's let him back in 2 weeks. Well, make it 2 days. So
if Big Ben can't set his own lineup, you can't expect him to enforce discipline, around the entire league. So, Big Ben probably not going to be commissioner anytime soon, but sooner than I'll be commissioner, no doubt about that. Ryan, I can't lie. I think your hosting skills are better than mine because we're about 11, 12 minutes into this, and I don't really have any other questions for you, so I'll just kind of open up the floor to you.
All right, just let me talk about my team, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. Let's try not to, do too many trade talks
I would
here.
like to talk about a couple, just a couple guys on my staff. In particular, a guy that I'd really targeted, and this is going to sound weird, but Corey Kluber. He's been high on my draft board, a lot higher than you'll see him in all the other, fantasy sites rankings. The reason to that is he had a walk rate just over 2 last year, which is elite. He had a strikeout rate of over 8, which is very good considering his low walk rate. Pitches in progressive field that has like the top 3 best venues for park factors in all of baseball. And he's got a division where he's pitching against the Royals, he's pitching against the Twins, and who am I missing besides the Tigers? It's obviously about as tough as a matchup. There's another cupcake in there, the White Sox.
Yeah, White Sox.
So it's a great division to pitch in for the most part. So Corey Kluber's a guy I've got pretty high expectations for, despite having most people thinking he's just another boring pitcher out there. And another one is Salazar. Danny Salazar is the way I did my research this year, a lot of what I looked at was the xFIP, which is the fielder independent of pitching based on a fly ball average rate of 10.5%. And so Salazar, based on the xFIP, had the second best xFIP in all of baseball last year, behind Felix Hernandez. So the advanced stats say that he's very good. He had strikeouts like 83 strikeouts in 65 innings, a really low walk rate of under 2. So he's really got everything you're looking for, just has to stay healthy.
Yeah, I knew all that. Salazar's interesting to me. Barely makes the cut with the double-digit O rank, so I might be interested in him. But if they readjust the O ranks and he falls back to triple digits, that conversation might be dead.
Yeah, other than that, the only other player that I kind of really pinpointed that I wanted on draft day that I came away with is Brian McCann. Last year, I came away with Luke Roy after the draft, and he was not very highly touted coming into the season. I gave him about a month. He didn't pan out for me at the time. I picked up a bunch of different catchers throughout the year. Wasted a lot of pickups on trying to fill up empty roster spots or injuries last year. And this year, I wanted to come away with a more balanced team so that I wouldn't have to use like over half of my pickups trying to fill weak roster spots and so forth. So I really came into the draft looking to take a more established catcher. McCann and Rosario were the 2 targets, and McCann went for $6, so I decided to take him.
Yeah, I've always been a McCann fan, and I'm a little. I know that one guy that meant a lot to you was Adam Wainwright. It was important to you that he not end up on my team.
That goes for most of the Cardinals.
Any Cardinals, okay. And how do you rank Cardinals success versus fantasy team success when you're going against a Wainwright?
I'm a huge Cardinals fan. But that said, I'm a much bigger fantasy baseball fan.
You're a much bigger fan of yourself.
Yes,
is what you're saying.
I'm very selfish. I will sacrifice I will say, the Cardinals are up. Let's say they're. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to think of a way for. Say I need to get a win. I would be for Rosenthal blowing a save if I needed that win more and having a chance for a win. Even, knowing that it's not 100% sure that he's going to get it. But I might root for that at a certain situation this season.
Right. Is that the worst feeling in the world is when somebody else's closer comes in, gives up the run to blow the win for your pitcher, and then they end up getting the win against you?
Yeah, that's killer, no doubt about
it. That's right up there with your own pitcher walking your own batter. I mean, all the worst scenarios possible in fantasy.
So I got to ask you, what do you think about my team? What do you think? What players do you like, and what players do you not like?
I like Chris Davis. I think I like Soriano.
Victory. That gives me a little bit of a red flag on the Soriano.
It should. I mean, why would you trust
Because I wasn't sure about it already. He's one of the guys that stands out to you that you like. That makes me a little nervous.
Just look at what he did last year once he got to the Yankees and
that's
even
true.
Down the stretch.
Do you think that he's one of those players that
he
gets more excited playing in the big city of New York? And do you think that you buy into that at all? Or do you think it's just more the stadium, the team?
I have no idea what happened. Soriano's so fluky. I wouldn't be surprised if he is the number 10 player after April or if he's cut.
Right.
By April, because when he's cold, and when he's hot, he's really hot. So that's right, I just said that. But who else do I don't really get the big deal about Jason Worth. I've always liked Hanley. I really thought he was going to be on my team, but you just kept bidding him up a little bit.
Well, he didn't go for that. He only went for 36.
Yeah, I know, but I feel like it was just you and me after 30.
That was actually like one of the big parts. I wanted to come away with a top third baseman and definitely a top shortstop. So I knew that I was probably coming away on the draft with Tulo, Hanley, or Ian Desmond, because I wanted to power bat at shortstop. So made that a point, and all the shortstops went for pretty reasonable prices.
Yeah, no, I like Hanley. Obviously, he had 2 jacks last night, so just when he was healthy last year, he was awesome. But he had trouble staying healthy last year, and now that he's on your team, I guess we all know what happens with your players. I wouldn't be.
Let me ask you what you would do. Darvish, he's playing catch tomorrow. I don't even know if that's a good sign
that's
or not.
That's exciting.
So, how far would you move Darvish down your rankings, or would you at all?
Well, what's the point of this? We've already drafted.
I just want to know what you think. Like, what's your opinion on Darvish now? Would you rather have Cliff Lee or Wainwright or Felix than those guys?
Sure, yeah. I'll move him down to like number 6.
So like a little bit of a move down, but nothing significant.
I mean, how long do you think he's going to be out at the most?
I mean, most people think that he might not even go on the DL, but I don't really know.
I mean, it's definitely not ideal, but I mean, we don't have any hard research to go on, so or that's not the right word, but kind of like with Ryan Braun, when he was had that looming suspension, you didn't really change his value that much preseason because you just gotta take a chance. So if there's anybody listening to this podcast that isn't in the league and is drafting soon, that's my that's my educated thoughts on that.
Well, since you're a more objective person about this team, what do you think my weakness is? Do you think that I'm weak offensively, weak in pitching, weak in a certain category, or what do you? It might take you a second to think about it, but
I just don't see the normal Ryan team in that. There's not really a lot of stars. You normally find your stars. Like I was looking at your team last year. For those of you that are listening, there's a way that on the league page that it'll pull up the draft results from last year, or it'll pull up your final roster from last year. And what I noticed when I looked at your team was hardly anybody on your team was either drafted for over $10 or was even drafted at all.
Right.
So you had a bunch of top 100 guys on your team that either weren't drafted or went for really cheap. So
the problem is, I think maybe if you look at the guys that I drafted that were at the top last year, I got burned by most of them.
Right.
So, Verlander was one of them.
Oh, boy.
Kemp, Pujols.
That's right. I forgot about that.
So a lot of my top guys did not pan out at all for me last year. So I went with more of not a Michael approach, maybe not quite of a, what's the word what is Michael? He's very thrifty with his cash. I wasn't that thrifty.
That's one way of putting it, I guess.
If you include my pitcher, I've got 5 players in the top 22, but I didn't spend any over only one player over $40, which is unusual for me.
Yeah, no, I remember the draft of last year. We thought you were going to get a steal with Pujols for 38 and Kemp for 40, and
yeah,
man, that backfired fast. Do you want to attempt to do a power rankings actually, since my interview skills have led to such a short?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do it. We'll make it into a part 2 though.
We'll do a part 2. We're gonna get together, come up with power rankings, and we will be back in part 2. You're listening to the Outlaws podcast.
Welcome back to the Outlaws podcast. I'm back as host. Drew has revealed the top 10 power rankings. I got the list in front of me. Of course, you're going to have to listen to find out where you stand. At number 10, do a drum roll, Drew.
Oh. All right.
The number 10 team on Drew's weekly power rankings is...
Wait, come on. Before we get into this. Weekly? I don't know about that.
Well, somebody's got to do it. You've got some time. I think you can handle it.
All right. If there's anybody that has time, it's Ben Head. Give me a break.
He sounds pretty busy lately.
He does. We originally wanted Ben Head to join us for part 2 of the podcast. He has not called us back. There's a chance we might have a part 3. But for now, we start off part 2 with our number 10. I'm sorry, my number 10 team in the power rankings. It is Mr. Adam Becker.
Adam at number 10. I think he's got arguably the best offense in the league, so it's kind of weird to see him back here at number 10. Tell me why he's the last team in the rankings.
He has 2 starting pitchers that went for a combined $2, I believe. He has...
Let me ask you this.
Neftali Feliz from AAA.
You're the evaluator. You're the person that knows why you're ranking the teams a certain way. What do you think the strategy is between owning Neftali Feliz, Carlos Martinez, and Josh Johnson?
I got to tell you, I don't know what to say about that. I'm also the same guy that was like, who's this Matt Harvey guy? So I got to double check these names, make sure I haven't made a mistake here. But let's be honest. Should we even talk about Adam anymore? Because not only are we worried about him quitting the season real soon, he honestly quit the season about an hour into draft night.
You're absolutely right on that.
I don't know if he's coming back.
It looks like he's trying to go a TJ here. He's going to just build a stacked offense and just let it ride. And he'll check back in about 6 months after you send him a Facebook message and see how his team's doing.
Oh, man, yes. This has a Drew suspension written all over it.
It does.
4 bench players.
You got to say this: the offense is pretty amazing. Tulo and Cano up the middle, David Wright at third base. You got Posey at catcher. So you got top flight talent in the infield, other than Billy Butler at first base. Outfield, you got Trout and Harper, and I don't really care for the rest of the outfield. With Granderson and Crisp, and then he's got Arenado. I really don't see why he's holding so many bench hitters with the stacked offense, but I think it could work out for him to hold all the. I would probably pick up a couple extra bench hitters just in case.
Wait, when are you playing him?
Not for a while, unfortunately.
Okay. Man, I wish I was playing Adam 3 times. It's interesting because he needs to obviously make some pickups, but since the season has already started, he's going to have to – he's only going to be – so he's going to have 6 starting pitchers next week at the very most.
Yeah, so right now you're got to be worried about him even meeting his minimum innings limit. And if he doesn't pay attention to this roster, obviously we don't even know if he's going to set his lineup, which could be a big problem. So Adams got to be number 10 right now until he at least picks up some pitchers, I think.
Completely agree with that.
All right, at number 9. The man that finished in the top 3 last season.
Did I click on the right
Ben Chrisman.
That's right, Big Ben. That's right. I did it. I'm not afraid.
Now, I want to be clear on this. Drew was the only person that had any say in these rankings. These are 100% Drew's rankings. The only thing that we talked about was Adam at number 10. I did agree with Adam at 10.
All right, so actually, let's just go ahead. I hate to be kind of a buzzkill here, but I don't know what I'm doing here with these rankings. I mean, I scratched these out on an envelope real quick, and honestly, I mean, Big Ben, it's just really just for comedy's sake that I'm putting you down at number 9, trying to get a feud going. I know that you finished ahead of me in the standings the last 2-3 years. Blah blah blah, bitching. Okay, why do I have this team number 9?
I have no idea, because honestly, I would have put this team probably in the top 3.
I'm looking at it. It doesn't look too bad right now, actually.
Well, I really like the offense, but I have to get your expert opinion. What do you think about Wilson Ramos, Drew?
Wilson Ramos?
Tell me what you know about him.
I got to tell you what. He's got to be being started in 66% of leagues for a reason.
Well, that is some hard-hitting analysis. I do want to say this. Big Ben has really stacked the average in terms of his infield with Donaldson, Carpenter, and Votto, high average players. Then he's got guys in the outfield that can do it all, that can steal bases and hit for power between Upton and Gomez and Marte to a lesser extent. And then I like his utility hitters in Nelson Cruz and Victor Martinez, who was an undrafted pickup, and I even like Adam Eaton on the bench.
Yeah, I put this team too low, but I just had to scratch out a list real quick.
What do you think about his staff?
Well, I'm wondering if he's planning on putting Cole Hamels on the disabled list anytime soon.
Well, he was just put on it today.
Okay, better question. I'm wondering if Big Ben even knows yet that Cole Hamels was hurt. He obviously didn't know on draft night, so it's just little things like that in my head told me, okay, I got to put Big Ben down at number 9. You know,
I think he's got a really good pitching staff, though. I mean, he's got Scherzer, Ryu, Liriano. Hamels will be back in about a month or so. I like the staff a lot. I think this is one of the best teams in the league, to be honest with you. And I don't know why he's at number 9.
Oh, shut up. Stop acting like I've spent 30 minutes on this.
All right, number 8.
Number 8.
The defending champion, Winslow.
Mr. Derek Edwards' new father.
Obviously, no captain. Respect from Drew for last year's medal winners. Big Ben was the number 3 team. Derek won the title. He's got both of them in the bottom 3. Just a week later and for fantasy purposes or whatever. So what do you not like about Team Winslow?
What do I not like about Team Winslow? Well, let's just look at that. Let me just read off some of his everyday players. Chris Davis, Brandon Moss, Kyle Seager, Jed Lowry, and then, of course, Matt Wieters, who has been a mainstay. I'm having some issues with your computer here. What is my deal? Adam Jones for $51. Thought that was a little too high during the draft. You take a look at the pitching staff.
I really like the pitching staff, actually, and I know.
Good old Cliff Verlander. I thought Verlander probably went too high. Y'all got mad at me because I wouldn't take it up to 27 on Verlander.
Yeah, Verlander's interesting. I was kind of afraid to take him, but he has been dominant this spring. He has not given up a single run. So I think Verlander is likely going to finish this, be more of the version of 2012 than he was last year.
See, this whole power rankings is a complete fail because
it's so hard to do.
When I was originally thinking about Derek, I thought I remembered Derek having a pretty weak team on draft night, but obviously I was wrong.
I think he's got one of the best pitching staffs in the league, but his offense is going to be one of the worst in my opinion. What's your take on Billy Hamilton? Are you a believer? He's an O rank of 61. You thought that it was crazy when I mentioned that he would, I'd maybe take him in the 7th round in the snake draft. You just gave me the down thumb, say down, 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 outside of the 100 for you, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, this could be D. Gordon from 2 years ago. He could be gone in a month.
Absolutely, he could.
I just think it's crazy for Billy Hamilton to have a higher O rank than Josh Hamilton. Just complete nuts.
Yeah, I'm saying my problem with this team is that I just don't like. For one, I think Wieters is probably one of the worst 2 catchers owned in the league, along with Jason Castro. Lowry's okay. He doesn't excite me though. Elvis Andrus kind of in the same way doesn't excite me at shortstop.
Andrus is boring.
Seager, these guys are all solid. I can't say that they're horrible, but he lacks a lot of top flight talent offensively outside of Jones and Goldschmidt.
Yeah, I like Goldschmidt and Jones, but he certainly paid a price.
They went for $105 between the two of them.
Yeah, so it kind of limited what else he could do with his offense. And yeah, Alex Gordon. Yeah, there's definitely some Michael players on here.
Yeah, no doubt about it. He built a Michael offense, but he's got a dominant staff with Cliff Lee, Verlander, Tehran. He's got a couple Cardinals I like, Shelby Miller, Lance Lynn. I like them okay. Chris Archer and Kazmir, I think are two pretty nice sleepers there at the end of the draft. What do you think about Archie Bradley? You thought that was kind of a weird pick up early on in the season, didn't you?
I don't know.
No opinion.
Roto World has him as like one of their top 10 prospects, so I guess I can't hate on it too much. Derek, I apologize. Your team's not bad. Sorry that it's so low. Number 7. Lucky number 7 is the man without a pitching staff, Mr. Ben Head.
I wouldn't go that far. I mean, it's not like it's nothing near what Adam has. And, he doesn't have a lot of pitchers right now, but I like the ones that he has, actually.
Okay, so this is the worst pitching staff put together by somebody that actually drafted one. We'll say that much. Okay. What is the name of Ben's team?
Tugboat.
Of course.
Give it a tug, Doug.
What is it with Ben's team names? They're just kind of, I don't know what's going on with Ben and the team names here this year. And the Sherry Stone talk, I feel like he's just getting more and more obsessed. But anyways, take a look at this team. It's really just the pitching staff. He's got 3 top 7 players, O-rank wise, on his team in Braun, McCutcheon, and Cargo Gonzalez.
And Cargo, absolutely correct. Now,
and don't forget 5-tool player Yoenis Cespedes.
Ben gets a big chubby for guys that can contribute in all 5 categories. There's no doubt about it.
That's right. If you can get 2 steals, you're a 5-category contributor. So
this guy's a 5-category stud. He said that to pretty much every player that was nominated on draft night.
I'm not on the Jose Abreu bandwagon. I'm just not.
I am. I really wanted Abreu. I have him in another league that I'm in that I'm enemy number 1 in. But anyway, Jose Abreu, I think he's going to hit 30 home runs, 90 RBIs, and hit for a good average. I think he's a breakout player.
That's great. My opinion is his entire infield.
Let me ask you this: if Jose Abreu had a picture on his profile, would that change things?
Oh, it definitely ups the ante. A picture definitely helps your credibility, helps it go a long way. This infield, aside from Ian Desmond, just bores the shit out of me. I couldn't care less about this infield. I think he needs to give up Ian Desmond and maybe go for an all infield of no pictures.
Yeah, I'll give you that it's boring. Outside of Desmond and Abreu, I think Abreu is very interesting. I do like Hill and Ramirez for the prices that they went at. Jason Castro, I really couldn't care less about him.
Desmond's the only guy in his infield that's being started in more than 76% of Yahoo leagues.
Now, he does have a little bit of a problem here because he's got 4 bench hitters, and all of them probably should be owned. I mean, they're guys that are very intriguing.
He does this all the time. He does this in football where he doesn't draft a kicker or defense and drafts, pretty solid. He has a pretty solid draft. He drafts guys that should be drafted, but come season, he's got to cut a couple of these guys.
Yeah, and he hasn't worked out a trade yet. The season's a couple days away. He's going to have to do something.
Brett Laurie's got a 99-0 rank. That is interesting. Let's take a look at the pitching staff. Not much to look at here. But
all right, I think you're being a little too harsh about this staff, Drew.
I am. How many starting pitchers?
Because I know that you're a big Tanaka fan.
He has exactly 5 starting pitchers on his staff.
That is the problem. I think the pitchers he has on his roster, though, I like them. I like Tanaka decently. I like Masterson a lot. I think he's one of the most undervalued pitchers in all of fantasy.
He is. I'm undervaluing him too. I like Cishek.
And Jared Weaver's hidden in there. I know you like Weaver.
I like Weaver.
So he's got 3 very solid guys. Estrada and Ross, I think those are the guys you've got problems with.
No, Ben wants to cuddle with Tyson Ross. He's been picking him up the last couple years. He's a big Ross fan. And, right outside of Michael Fyers, I think he's got some serious love for Ross. I don't have a problem with these guys. There's just not.
Why do you keep calling it one of the worst staffs in the league?
I said I don't have problems with them, but there's no. I mean, when Tanaka, we've talked about this. When Tanaka's your ace, you've got a problem.
All right. Yeah. I mean, I agree with you there. It's not. It's just not. It doesn't have a lot of depth. I think he probably could use a top flight ace. He doesn't have that, but I think the guys that he has, he's got a lot of solid, like, number 3 pitchers. I would say that.
Yeah, that's great. So what category do you think he's winning?
In the pitching category, I think he's got a chance to win the ratios, and he's definitely going to win saves more times than not. He's got 4 closers, and all of them are pretty decent.
Oh, he does have 4 closers?
He's got Glenn Perkins, Casey Jansen, Jim Johnson, and Steve Cishek.
Jim Johnson, have fun with that one, buddy. That's all I got to say.
All right, I think it's time to move on to the next team, Drew.
Let's move on to number 6. Honestly, a little higher than I would normally go, but
So it sounds like you're maybe wishing that you'd move this guy down the list.
Probably.
Well, probably should look at it. Actually, look at his team before we.
Honestly, I'm about to look at his team for the first time. I just kind of assumed, but he was not going to be good. But wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt. It's Mr. Andrew Maness from Kansas City, Mr. Brandon Shimmer. Yadier Molina at the catcher, not surprising. Hey, this isn't bad.
Yeah, no, I got to be honest with you. I think he's got one of the best teams in the league, and maybe I'd probably go top 4 or so.
Wow.
I really like his outfield a lot. He's got the 2 Cardinals and Holiday and Craig, and he's got Hunter Pence, who I think is always underrated. The infield is very nice. Beltre at third, Phillips at second is solid. Reyes at shortstop's one of the better ones in the league, and Trumbo is going to give you a lot of power, and he's got one of the best catchers in the league in Molina. So he's got a very, nothing I can complain about with the offense.
Yeah, now, man, that's a good-looking lineup. I wish Phillips deserves a double.
No. I think I already know what is standing out to you big time.
Could it be Colton Wong?
Now, what is his O rank?
His O rank is, usually I like to have double-digit players. If it's triple digits, I'm not a big fan of having them by starting lineup. But Colton Wong has a quadruple-digit O rank. O rank of 1177, currently started in 9% of leagues, but somehow he makes it on here. Apparently, if you play in Kansas City or St. Louis, you had a good chance to get drafted by this team. So I see a lot of St. Louis and Kansas City players here. This hitting lineup's not bad. Let's scroll down to the pitching. Although he does have, I don't know. What do you think about? Do you have any thoughts about Peralta or Aoki this year?
I don't care for Aoki. He's going to be the leadoff hitter in Kansas City. He says he's not a Royals fan. He obviously is. There's no reason. He always stashes all these Royals players. Last year it was Moustakas. This year it's Aoki. Peralta and Wong, I think both of them will be very usable at times this year. I think both of them are going to bat second in the Cardinals lineup at different times. I think those will be rotating at spots depending on the lefty and righty pitcher on the mound. And when you get the Peralta the second spot in the order, he's going to be worth using, and vice versa for Wong when there's a righty on the mound. Wong can bring you some speed. He's going to hit you 10 to 15 home runs as well. He's a good on base guy. He can score a lot of runs. I don't think I would have added either one of them yet, but they would definitely have been on my watch list if I needed somebody at that position.
God, this is such a good team. Honestly, I ranked him without even looking at his team, and that was a mistake. Wainwright, Zimmerman, Alex Cobb, who I like a lot this year, and then just solid. It's nobody after that. It's nobody that gets you going ooh, but just very solid guys.
If I had one critique of this team, I don't feel confident about some of the pitchers at the back end of the rotation. The ones in particular would be Ubaldo and Chris Tillman. I can understand taking a chance on Pineda and Ramirez, and I don't know for sure if they're going to work out. I don't have a problem with owning them because they do have some upside. But
how many times is Ramirez going to get picked up before the season starts?
You're going to have to ask Brandon that question. He's not afraid to burn 3-5 pickups before the season starts.
Absolutely. Those Shimmer boys, they are not afraid to make pickups. So, again, I've gotten this one wrong. Maybe we can do
So the only one that you're not backing off of so far is Adam.
That's correct.
Okay.
We could probably do a revised list. I think people are already going to have a problem with this list because I haven't named myself yet. So maybe we should hurry.
Well, the question is this. We're at number 5. Are you next on the list?
Oh, shoot. I'm not. Let's move on to number 5. And that
Big
is
Boo!
Mr. Brad Crawford, country server. Where is
Puig's
he?
Powerhouse, Brad.
Puig's Powerhouse.
He did not bring the normal amount of energy that he normally brings on draft night.
Yeah, but at least he came. Take notes, Big Ben, Adam, Michael.
So what do you think about Brad's team? What stands out? Obviously, he's got Miguel Cabrera again. That's obviously a big asset to have. But I think he's got one of the best lineups in the entire league.
Oh, my gosh. All these teams are good.
So when you look at all these teams, does it make you feel a little bit lesser about your own team?
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
I feel the same way.
I look at my lineup and I'm like, hey, that's pretty good. And then I get out here and I'm like,
everybody's got a good lineup.
We've looked through 6 teams so far, and I kind of don't feel that excited about my team anymore. No doubt about it.
So he's got Freeman at first base, Kipnis at second, Miguel Cabrera at third, Everett Cabrera at short, and William Rosario at catcher. This might be the best infield in the league.
Yeah, I guess.
His and Adams. Kipnis is the number 2 or 3 second baseman. Freeman's top 6 or 7. Cabrera, obviously, the class.
Okay, you're right.
So
you're right. And
he's got a really stacked outfield with Puig, Stanton, and Bruce. A bunch of, I don't know if you can count on their average, but they're all easily capable of hitting 30-plus homers.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. I know that a lot of people are really high on Rosario, too, at catcher. But then you just get down to a typical Brad decision.
I know where you're going with this already.
Starlin Castro, perfectly fine if you're in a 14-team league and you need to have a shortstop.
Don't listen to it, Brad.
But when you're starting Starlin Castro in your utility spot, you've got issues. And just after that, I guess Belt's. I
gotta ask.
Belt's okay.
If Brad was in front of me right now and I had a serious question to ask him, I would say, you have Everett Cabrera. You've got Starlin Castro.
Why do you have
Alexi Ramirez?
That's right.
That would be the question.
That's definitely a question, and it needs to be asked.
All right, so we're looking at the staff. This is the problem with Brad's team right now. The offense is great. The pitching staff, while it's not horrible, I think it right now at this point is one of the lesser staffs in the league.
I'll just say right now, Brandon's team is better than this. This is a mistake. I'm gonna go ahead and switch them right now.
Well, let's look at Brad's team, the pitching staff.
Actually,
what? He's got Fernandez, and Iwakuma will be back soon to be his number 2.
F it, Brad. You're going down to number 8. I'm moving you back to number 8 and moving everybody else up one.
You don't sound too impressed with that hitting lineup. I thought it was one of the best in the league.
Whatever. It's Brad. Those players will be gone in a month.
I like Fernandez. I like Irvin Santana. Okay. I like AJ Burnett. Okay. I like Zach Wheeler quite a bit.
Sure, yeah, Wheeler.
Iwakuma's a good pickup. I don't know about picking up Jeff Locke, considering he's not going to be healthy for the first month of the season.
Starting 1%
Alexi Ogando will be a setup man. Nolasco, I don't like the staff a ton, but he's got some usable arms there. I think it's better stuff than what Little Ben has right now, but he obviously 0 closers.
Sure, yeah. 0 closers, but that was intentional. And the thing we forgot to mention was I think Adam's strategy of not spending more than $1 on pitchers was intentional. So
yeah, what was crazy about it is that he got 4 closers out of it somehow.
He did. That was crazy. But Brad, obviously, he's going to go the Nick route. We'll see how it turns out. But Brad, I originally put you at 5, but after reviewing the other teams, I'm going to move you back to 8. And I might even move you up as we get further down. We'll take a look. Or you might be able to crack your way back up.
All right, so that concludes the bottom half of the power rankings. Now we're getting to the cream of the crop, as your team was once named the cream.
That's right.
And we haven't gotten to your team yet. How high will Team Drew go? You just got to continue to listen.
Way too high. Team number 4. Let's take a look. It is Mr. Michael Jordan.
Mr. Michael Jordan, that's an interesting way to say that.
Yeah, I said it wrong, but what can you do? What is their team name? Crowder Commandos?
Yes, it is.
Okay, what does it mean?
I have no idea. I think most of his references are either to something from Lucero or for some obscure TV show that nobody really watches.
Okay, so Michael Jordan versus Lil Ben in Week 1. Let's see what we're dealing with here. Now, Jordan obviously had a rugby tournament here, and I don't think he ended up having a whole lot of say. Man, look at that. That's a lot of double-digit O rank in that starting lineup there.
It is. There's nobody, and I was wrong what I said in the previous podcast. He does have some players in the top 40, but no players in the top 20.
That's correct. Looks like Longoria and Pedroia are his highest-ranked players as far as O rank goes.
His highest paid player. See, Michael, he's kind of one. He's like the owner of the A's or the owner of the Rays. He doesn't like to pay his players a whole lot. He paid $32 for Sin Choo Choo, paid $32 for Evan Longoria. Those are his highest paid players, $32 players. That's a different strategy for sure.
Yeah, the thing that's different about that is that Yahoo provides you with the money, So in the past, I guarantee you, Billy Beane
he usually is so cheap with that money that he tries to save some of it for himself at the end of the draft. But this year, he at least got rid of it all.
That's right. He wants to I think he thinks he can combine that money that's left over from the draft with his T-shirt profits and go out and buy a spare tire. That's just not. That's just not how it works. Solid little lineup here. Rizzo was a surprise when I saw him take Rizzo up to another $1. I didn't see that.
Were you in on the bidding on Rizzo?
Hell no.
Okay, because there were a few. I think Nick and Brad and maybe even little Ben was in our room. There was a lot of people going after Rizzo. I think.
Why?
The power potential. Andy's hit for a high average on different seasons in the minors. Obviously, not in the majors. He's a former Red Sox prospect, so that's the connection to Michael there.
Right. I guess.
So I think the lineup is solid.
He's a former Red Sox player.
He was in the minors. He was traded to the Padres in the Adrian Gonzalez trade.
That's exciting. Okay.
So all in all, I think the offense is pretty solid, but it doesn't really have that star, top 10 player. But I really like the pitching staff. I think it's one of the better ones in the league. He's got 3 bona fide aces. You could argue with Chris Sale, Bumgarner, and Matt Cain, and then he's got a couple of middle of the rotation guys that I like, and Homer Bailey. Garrett Cole is solid. Doug Fister looks like he's going to be on the DL to start the year. And then at the bottom end of the rotation, you got Peavy, Lincecum, and Lester. They've been high upside guys before, so I don't mind them being at the bottom end of the rotation at all.
Yeah, he doesn't have absolute garbage in his last 3 picks. They were names that have meant something.
So when you look at this roster, you glance over it quickly, you think you got Michael Jordan about right?
I think
higher or lower?
I think I do. We're going to keep them at 4, no doubt. So let's just do a recap. Adam at 10, Ben Chrisman at 9, Brad, who was originally 5, I have moved back to 8.
Now hold on. I wonder if before you go too far down the list, if you gave Brad's roster, let's say, to Little Ben, is there a chance that he could be higher up on the order? Are you going strictly off roster, or are you taking the manager into account here?
Oh, we're going to take manager into account, absolutely.
Okay, so review the list again, and I'll be quiet.
Okay, so Adam at 10, we got Big Ben at 9, Brad at 8. Derek at 7, Little Ben at 6, Brandon Shimmer at 5, and Michael Jordan at 4. And then we get to the most overrated team in the premiere of the Power Rankings, and it is me, Papa Drew, coming in at number 3 right now. Let's see if there's any way to defend that as I take a look at my team.
All right, so Drew, tell me, you're looking at your team. What do you like about it?
It's a lot of experience.
Now, I made a post the other day. You probably saw it and didn't respond. That's what you do.
That's kind of my move.
I'm pointing out that the average age of an MLB player is 28 years old.
It's a good post.
And you don't have a single player under that average age. Is that a concern to you?
That's right, people. Look at my NA spot. You will see.
That's no longer true because you have Andrelton Simmons, but it was true at the time.
You will see Gregory Polanco of the Pittsburgh Pirates bringing down the mean of my team age by a solid year or 2.
Now, the thing about Polanco, quadruple O rank, 0% started.
I tell you what, that is not a Drew Weddle-looking player right there.
I do want to say your outfield. I like your outfield a lot. I like Batista, Ellsbury, and Hamilton. Even I've come around on. I was not high on Hamilton, but what he's done so far in the spring training's got me excited.
That guy's a beast. You guys are just idiots. Although some of you guys respected him, you made me pay a couple extra bucks than I thought I would. But like I said, this is Josh Hamilton. I mean, did you see what this guy did 2 years ago and 4 years ago? And
now, yeah, for the infield,
every other year player, he's going to be amazing.
This is just my personal opinion. I think you're going to take offense to it. But I think your infield might be one of the weaker ones in the league.
Ooh.
So, you got the big names, obviously. Maurer at catcher, he's solid. If last season was any indication, he'll be solid for 47 RBIs.
He's a number 1 or number 2. He's the number 1 or number 2 catcher.
You can make that case. He might be. I just don't think there's a lot to get excited about.
He's no lower than number 3.
He's going to give you average. He's going to give you runs. I don't know if he's going to give you anything else.
I don't know how you weigh that. I don't.
So Albert Pujols, he's obviously a big X factor with your team. So I don't really know what to expect from him. I'm a little skeptical just because he was bad on my team last year. I have come around on Kinsler. I like Kinsler. Zimmerman, I don't get excited about him, but he's not going to kill you, obviously. I think he's maybe like the 8th, 9th, 3rd baseman, something like that on my board. But all in all, Adrian Gonzalez, you can't ignore that at utility. One of the best utility players in all of baseball that's owned right now. Teixeira probably won't work out. But you also got Matt Kemp down there.
That's
you got
right.
Sleeper appeal with him. He's been a top 3 player before, so I don't think he's going to get that high again. But he's has been, like to say, capable of being a 5-category stud. You have a lot of high upside guys here. You've also got a lot of injury risks here. What do you think about the offense? You've had a chance to review a lot of the other teams. Do you think it's going to hold on par with the rest of the league?
I think I'm ready to move myself down.
Interesting. Now let's talk about your pitching staff before you make that final decision. I think you don't have a top 10 pitcher. You've got guys that could easily finish there.
Oh, Price is top 10.
Is he? I thought he was 11th.
Not on Yahoo, but on ESPN he's number 8.
Okay, I forgot that you like to use the ESPN rankings. So David Price.
I'm sorry, Matthew Berry or Brandon Funston? What is?
Point taken.
Listen to these names. Go ahead.
All right, so Price and Greinke are like 11 and 12 on Yahoo.
Something like that.
Gio Gonzalez is going to be a top 20 guy. Cueto.
Gio and Matt Latos are both top 20.
Went for a discount because he's going to be missing a couple weeks to start the season. But yeah, those are 5 guys you got to like a lot. So I don't really care for the guys at the back end. You know that. I don't care for Gallardo, Colon, and Dickey. I don't think you really care for 2 of those 3 either.
No, not really.
You just did it because of the name value and because they're old and fat.
There you go.
But I think it's a good staff. It's not a great staff, but it's probably in the top half of the league, but probably somewhere around 4 or 5 in my book.
Right. Thank you.
I thought you would take offense to that, honestly.
No, I mean, come on. I don't have any.
Last year you were pumped about getting Gio and Dickey as towards the back end of your, the middle. You had other aces and you had Gio and Dickey in there, and you were pumped about it.
Yeah, but Gio and Dickey were also going along with a Wainwright, Cliff Lee.
And those beasts help you get to number 9 in the pitching sets.
Oh man, but I don't know. They're just solid guys.
They're not your guys is the problem. That's where I see the lack of confidence.
They're not my guys. I went shopping in the bargain bin, as Ben Head kept saying on draft night. I was shopping in the $5 bin, and honestly, I picked out some movies that I thought I kind of went on the IMDb rating and didn't really. Use my heart to make those picks. So we'll see what happens there.
Let's talk about your closer situation.
None of these guys are untradeable, by the way. Closer situation, Rafael Soriano can go F himself.
Already? Wow.
Jose Veras, Derek, send me a trade for Soriano.
All right, you loved Veras last year.
I did, but the guy's got like an ERA of 7.11 right now.
No, the one closer I feel really good about is David Robertson.
I like
Robertson.
I like me, Yankee.
Grilly, are you concerned about him at all this year with coming off an injury?
Honestly, I wish that if I was in an ideal world, I wish Grilly would get hurt and I was able to pick up Melanson before anybody else, because I think Melanson's just amazing. And a better pitcher than Grilly. But Grilly's solid.
So all in all, how far of a slide would you give your team in these rankings?
All right, so big moment here. I am going to... Oh, man.
I'll just ask you individually, and you'll tell me yes or no if it deserves to be behind this team. Is your team, should it be ranked ahead of Michael Jordan?
No.
Okay, so that's number 4. Should it be ranked ahead of Brandon, who is number 5?
No.
Okay, and I'm getting a little confused with your diagram, so you're going to have to take over from here. Who's number 6?
I'm going to move me back. I'm going to say it is better than Ben Head's.
I don't really like when you take this modest role because I don't feel like it's genuine.
Well, no, this seriously is genuine. This has been an eye-opening experience. If you could sit down, go through the teams, you really do see some things. And I'm looking at these teams for a much longer time than I have at any point so far this season. I'm going to go ahead and slot me in at number 6, just ahead of Ben Head.
That's very fair.
And I'm going to put – and I still feel like I'm disrespecting Big Ben and Derek, but, honestly, Derek's –
for as much hype as Team Drew's got this season, I think Nick and Little Ben might throw a big objection to you ranking yourself so low.
I don't know. I'm just going to try to play the humble card for tonight and see what happens. So I'm going to move me at 6, and then that's going to move up Brandon to number – I've totally lost track.
We'll conclude this at the end.
Okay.
Hopefully it'll make more sense then. I'll let you think about it. Number 3!
Is anybody still listening? We're getting long.
So I guess that moves up Michael Jordan to number 3.
Moves up Michael
All right, so we got 2 teams left.
Jordan to number 3.
This is the debate. Is it going to be me or Nick? Drew, who's number 1 and who's number 2 in your power rankings?
Okay. I'm going to do this kind of like Miss America.
Why do you know how that goes?
I don't know. You never did. You never had to watch Miss America just to play.
Maybe when I was like in 5th grade.
Really? Okay.
No, I don't still watch that.
No, I don't still watch it either.
Okay.
All right. So the runner-up is Mr. Wonderful, which means the number one power ranking team to start out the season, or at least to start out this podcast for now, is Mr. Nick Shimmer. First, let's get to Mr. Wonderful.
I'll let you do the talking. This is your power rankings. I don't want to talk about my team too much. So what do you think?
Well, we interviewed and talked about your team in part 1, and I'm giving you too much of a respect card, I think.
Okay.
I really do. I think I'm gonna go ahead and move you down.
Oh no! All right. So what is how far of a slide am I gonna get here?
All right. Adam at 10, Big Ben at 9, Brad at 8, Derek at 7, Little Ben at 6.
Okay, that's not too bad of a slide.
Drew at 5, and I'm going.
Oh, stop playing! Put yourself above me if you. Who's going to be a better team this year?
And I'm going to move Ryan back to 4.
Okay, that's not significant.
So, and then Michael Jordan at 3. Oh, you know what? This is totally butchered. We'll have to go over it again.
I do one thing that we forgot to mention when I did my little preview of my team. I do think it's noteworthy to point that Mike Minor will be coming back in about 3 or 4 weeks, and before the injury, he was considered around 15th overall pitcher. So
yeah, it is kind of you do have Yu Darvish and Mike Minor, both pieces in a. They were both pieces in a very controversial trade last year that introduced us to Brandon S. We talked about you about 10 minutes earlier. Can we just move on?
Let's do it.
Number 1 team for now. I reserve the right to change my mind.
Stop doing that.
I've had some issues. I'm like Michael. I'm acting like it's my first time using the laptop.
I once played a game. I was in a community group, and we were playing that game Catchphrase, where you pass around the device and you click it to see what the topic is and to try to guess the word. Every time we passed it to the group leader, he would just turn the whole device off. He would totally, what's the word? He just didn't know how to use technology, and that's what Drew's struggling with tonight.
I'm telling you, this new laptop's tripping me up. Okay, The Walking Dead. Should we start off with the all-time greatest?
Hold on. Before I'm just looking at Drew's face here. I see a little bit of hesitation.
There's a little bit of panic that set in as I look at my number 1 team. What's going on?
No, this is the thing about Nick's team. He's got an A+ staff right now. You're only looking at the offense. The offense, while it's got Prince Fielder, who and Nick even in his interview said that he didn't even really like Prince Fielder. He admitted to that. So, besides Prince Fielder and maybe Segura and Rios, there's really not a whole lot of talent there that's you can really, count on that well. So, I'm not a big fan of Altuve. I know Nick thinks he's the most underrated player in professional baseball or whatever. Lucroy, I think, is a good value, but I just don't completely trust guys like Leonis Martin, Dominique Brown, Mike Napoli, and Will Venable, and even Avisail Garcia. So those are the question marks for me. I think this is one of the worst offenses in the league, but at the same time, it's the best staff in the league.
Yeah, I'm very excited about all these great pitchers having 2 start weeks against me, but that's going to happen. I think what happened here, let's be honest. Nick's got my team from last year. Maybe a little better. Maybe not quite.
I think his staff is better than what you had last year.
Your silence tends to...
I don't see Adam Dunn on that roster, and I don't see...
I know.
I don't see Henry Mejia. I don't see those players that you had last year.
I just don't like it when your pitching staff is the strongest part of your team.
Yeah, I've never really
it's
going
to even itself. It's not going to work. I mean, I saw it last year. It'd be one thing if you had this quality of staff halfway through the season, but you don't know which one of these guys are going to be bust and not. I mean, you know that Kershaw and Felix are going to be solid, but
you never know. I mean,
you never know what might happen with James Shields or Anibal Sanchez. Yeah, exactly. So
I do want to say this, and this might be a bold prediction. I'm going to go ahead and go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say that Michael Wacha will be ranked higher than Felix Hernandez at the end of the year.
Oh, that's bold. No doubt about it.
I do like the staff, and that's more of me liking Wacha than hating on Fernandez. He's got Kershaw, Hernandez, he's got Wacha, he's got Anibal Sanchez, James Shields, Sonny Gray, Andrew Castro, Matt Moore. So a very, very deep and dominating staff. Relief pitchers are very good as well. Kenley Jansen, Sergio Romo. Addison Reed and Grant Balfour. I mean, it's going to be really, really tough to beat Nick in pitching categories. Very capable of sweeping all 5 categories anytime you play him. Although you never really know with wins.
Yeah. Whatever. The pitching staff is good.
It sounds like you just think that pitching is too unpredictable to really give him that benefit of the doubt.
I mean, I don't mean to hate on Nick's team, but I guess it's fine. It's just when I put him number 1 on my original list, I guess I was expecting more when I clicked on it. And after looking at everybody else's team, I mean, it's clear he's not the number 1 team.
Now, it sounds like to me that your effort in putting this list together for the power rankings
was not very good.
It reminds me of a lot of your college preparation for classes.
My effort in putting together these power rankings is pretty much equals Big Ben's effort to setting his lineup on a weekly basis, Brad's effort in making pickups. It wasn't a very good effort. But after reviewing all the teams, we now have an updated list of the top 10 power rankings. This has been absolute chaos.
All right, let's alternate these like we did in the old days.
And nobody else is listening. But starting out at number 10, this is my new power rankings after reviewing the case for everybody. At number 10, it's still Mr. Adam Becker.
And let's do the team names along with it, too, like we used to do. I can't even think of his team, so we'll look it up real quick.
Adam Becker, also known as America.
Classic. I've never seen that name.
How could we not find that?
All right, at number 9, we've got Ben Krisman, also known as Ragnar Rocker.
Right. At number 8, it's Big Boo, Mr. Brad Crawford.
At number 7, the defending champ #WTC, Derek Edwards.
At number 6, it's Phoenix resident, and
you just kind of threw that in there.
We got to do a part 3. We have got to do a part 3. At number 6, it is Little Ben Head.
All right, at number 5, the team that was luckiest as can be last year, Drew Weddle, also known as Papa Drew's.
At number 4, it's Mr. Wonderful.
All right, thanks for the enthusiasm there. All right, at number 3, we've got Nick S., the famous Nick S. and The Balking Dead, which I think he may have stolen from another website. I saw it on ESPN.
At number 2, I'm shocked. I never would have thought I'd have done this, but after reviewing the teams, Brandon Shimmer, you're a top 2 team. Number 2.
So 2 Shimmers in the top 3 at number 1. I think it's a nice honor that you gave us to 2 managers.
Absolutely.
Number 1, Michael
Jordan.
Michael Jordan takes the spot of number 1, also known as Crowder's Commandos. And how confident do you feel in these rankings now?
I feel better. Brandon S. is really the team that shocked me. When we were drafting, I didn't feel like he ever did anything special.
Well, I'll tell you one thing that he did this year that he didn't do last year, and that is not leave $30+ on the board.
Well, that'll change things. And when you don't waste money on a second and third catcher, that'll also free you up to spend money on other things. So, well done on you, Brandon.
It's kind of shocking to me that you have a number 2, because I know that you don't really care for the guys like Wong and Peralta on the bench, but you still like the rest of his roster well enough to put him that high.
Yeah, and he's got a solid pitching staff and hitting. He doesn't really have a weakness. He's got some fat that he needs to trim. And, as long as he doesn't pull a Brandon, he should be okay. So, whatever that means, I have no idea. So, that's our list. Should we try to call Ben Head one more time?
Yeah, we're going to try to do a part 3. I don't know if he's going to be down for it. There's really a very long, super entertaining story that goes along with this, and I really hope that he answers. We're trying to call real quick. If not, then we're going to hang up and try to do this another time.
We're going to let you listen in here live. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I don't think it's going to happen.
Past his bedtime in old Tempe, Arizona.
It's only 9:32 in Tempe.
Hey, this is Ben Head. I can't come to the phone.
All right, well, that's unfortunate. We're going to try to get this done, though. I promise you, the order that you want to listen to these, is going to be Ben at number 1 over the power rankings and over the interview. But just to be honest, I don't really like that we did this as a two-parter because everybody's just going to fast forward to the middle to the start of the power rankings.
Probably so, but
and I can't blame you for that. I mean, they're more entertaining.
Yeah, they are. I'm sorry. You know, I know you wanted some time in the spotlight, but and I probably didn't give you fair treatment, but I feel like we covered some good ground tonight. And obviously, I'm a little rusty. I haven't done one of these in a while, so I apologize if it was a little rough. I know that some of you find my voice to be the equivalent of fingernails on a chalkboard, Big Ben. But anyways, we're getting over the hour mark. Hopefully, we'll have a podcast at some point in the next couple days, live with Ben Head in Arizona. I still can't believe what's going on. Oh, you guys, this is going to be great. Until next time, I'm Drew Weddle.
I'm Ryan Odell.
We'll talk to you soon. Good luck this season. Peace out. Peace.